funny. How I can finally breathe now that you're gone.
The smell hit me first. Lauren came through our front door at 11:47 p.m., 3 days before our wedding, reeking of gin and somebody else's cologne. Not Tom's usual everyday aftershave, but something expensive. Something that cost more than my monthly car payment. "We need to talk," she said, not even bothering to look at me. Her designer heels clicked against our hardwood floor like a countdown timer. I was sprawled on our couch, still in my sales department khakis, nursing a beer and watching late-night reruns. The wedding invitations sat in neat stacks on our coffee table, mocking me with their gold-embossed lettering. 300 guests, $12,000, my life savings. "Let me guess," I said, taking another sip. "Cold feet, second thoughts? Or did you finally realize you're marrying a guy who drives a Honda Civic instead of a BMW?" Lauren's laugh was sharp, bitter. She'd been practicing it, I realized. This whole conversation had been rehearsed. "The wedding's off, Nick. I'm in love with someone else." I set down my beer with deliberate care. "Anyone I know? Your brother Tom." The words hung in the air like smoke. Tom. My younger brother who worked in our company's marketing department, who borrowed money from me every month, who still lived in a studio apartment at 32. Who couldn't keep a girlfriend for more than 6 weeks. "Well," I said finally, "I'm not holding you back." But my mind was already racing. Lauren was ambitious, status-obsessed, materialistic. Tom was none of those things that attracted her. Something didn't add up. She'd expected tears, begging, maybe throwing things. My calm response threw her off script. "That's it? That's all you have to say?" I shrugged. "What do you want me to say? Fight for you, beg you to stay? We both know that's not happening." The next morning at Hartwell & Associates, our mid-sized sales firm, I watched Lauren differently. Really watched. She moved through the open-plan office like she owned it, her blonde hair perfectly styled, her smile practiced and cold. But there were details I'd missed before. Her phone never left her hand. She angled it away from everyone, even me. When Paul Bennett walked by her desk, she straightened her posture, smoothed her skirt. Paul, our top sales director, with his corner office and his Rolex and his reputation for closing deals that made the rest of us look like amateurs. "Nick, you look like heck," said Janine, my assistant. She was 45, divorced, and had the sharp eyes of someone who'd been burned before. Wedding jitters? Something like that. She studied my face. Janine had worked for me for 3 years, and she could read my moods better than my own mother. "Whatever's going on, be careful. Office politics are nastier than divorce court." At lunch, I drove to Mickey's, the dive bar 3 blocks from our office. The kind of place with sticky floors and loud regulars who knew everyone's business. I needed information, and alcohol loosened tongues better than truth serum. Sure enough, Melissa was there. Lauren's best friend, the office gossip, already 2 drinks deep. "Nick," she called out, her voice too bright. "Shouldn't you be tasting wedding cake or something?" I slid onto the bar stool next to her. "Wedding's off." Her face went through a series of expressions: surprise, guilt, something that looked almost like relief. "Oh no, what happened?" "Lauren's in love with my brother, apparently." Melissa's laugh was too loud, too forced. "Tom? Really? I mean, he's sweet, but what?" She took a long sip of her martini. "Nothing. It's just surprising, that's all." I bought her another drink, then another. By 2 p.m., her tongue was loose enough to hang herself with. "You know," she said, leaning closer, "Lauren's got it all figured out. Tom's devotion, Paul's money, your blind trust. She's like a chess player, always 3 moves ahead." My blood went cold. "Paul's money?" Melissa's eyes widened. She'd said too much. "I mean, Paul's he's successful, you know? Lauren admires success." I left her there, stumbling over her words, trying to backtrack. But the damage was done. Back at the office, I started paying attention to things I'd ignored before. Paul lingered by Lauren's desk every morning, bringing her coffee. Expensive coffee from the boutique place downtown, not the break room swill the rest of us drank. Lauren's laugh was different around him, genuine, not the practiced sound I'd been hearing at home. And Tom was nowhere near Lauren. He barely looked at her. For a man supposedly in love, he was doing a terrible job of showing it. At 5 p.m., as I was packing up my desk, Janine appeared with a manila envelope. This came for you. No return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper with a message in block letters. Check the security camera footage in parking level C, yesterday 6:30 p.m. I knew our building's security system. I'd helped design the employee access protocols. Getting into the footage wouldn't be hard. I had administrative privileges from a project last year that IT had never revoked. The timestamp read 6:31 p.m. Level C, Section 4. Lauren's silver Audi was parked in the corner spot she always chose. And there, pressed against the driver's side door, were Lauren and Paul Bennett. His hands were in her hair, her arms around his neck, kissing like teenagers. Tom was nowhere to be seen. I saved the footage to a flash drive and leaned back in my chair. Lauren hadn't fallen in love with my brother. She'd fallen in love with my biggest rival at work, the man who'd stolen 3 major clients from me this year, who drove a Mercedes and lived in a downtown penthouse. Tom was just the cover story, the lie that was supposed to make me feel sorry for her instead of suspicious. But Lauren had made one critical mistake. She'd underestimated me. I'd spent 5 years in sales, learning to read people, to find their weaknesses, to close deals by knowing exactly what motivated them. I was good at my job because I understood human nature. And now I was going to use every skill I'd learned to destroy the woman who'd tried to make a fool of me. The next morning, I called in sick and drove to the other side of town to a strip mall office with Brennan Investigations painted on the window in fading gold letters. Inside, Jack Brennan looked exactly like Central Casting would order for an ex-cop private investigator. Gray hair, weathered face, eyes that had seen too much. Cheating wife? He asked before I'd even sat down. That obvious? You've got the look. What do you need? I told him about Lauren and Paul, showed him the security footage. He nodded like he'd seen it 1,000 times before. Here's the thing, he said. You could confront them, make a scene, get your revenge that way. Or you could be smart about it, build a case, gather evidence. Make sure when you drop the hammer, it stays down. What kind of evidence? Financial records, phone records if you can get them legally, witnesses, documentation of their affair affecting workplace dynamics. The more you have, the more damage you can do to both of them professionally. He quoted me a price that made me wince, but I paid it. This was war now, and wars cost money. One more thing, Brennan said as I was leaving. Don't do anything stupid. Don't break any laws. Smart revenge is legal revenge. Back at the office, I started my campaign. First, I needed allies, people who'd seen what I'd seen who could corroborate the affair when the time came. Janine was the obvious choice. She saw everything, knew everyone, and she was loyal. I need your help with something, I told her during lunch. Does it involve Lauren and that snake Paul Bennett? I stared at her. You know, honey, I've been watching office affairs for 20 years. They think they're being subtle, but they're about as subtle as a car crash. The question is, what are you going to do about it? I'm going to destroy them both. Professionally, socially, completely. But I need to be smart about it. Janine's smile was sharp as a blade. Count me in. The plan started small. I began documenting everything. Times, dates, witnesses. Lauren leaving early for client meetings that didn't exist. Paul's calendar being mysteriously free during the same hours. The way they looked at each other during staff meetings. I also started playing the sympathy card. Word had gotten around that my wedding was canceled, and I let people draw their own conclusions about why. Poor Nick, left at the altar by his ambitious fiancée. The office rallied around me in small ways, invitations to lunch, offers to grab drinks after work, genuine sympathy that I banked like currency. Meanwhile, I was gathering intelligence. I learned that Paul had expensive tastes and mounting debts. The Mercedes was leased, not owned. The penthouse apartment was stretching his finances thin. He needed the commission from big sales to maintain his lifestyle. So I started sabotaging his deals. Nothing illegal, nothing traceable. But I had relationships with clients, inside information about their needs and concerns. A word here, a suggestion there, and suddenly Paul's sure-thing contracts were falling through. His closing rate dropped from 80% to 45% in 2 weeks. I watched him get more desperate, more aggressive. He started working longer hours, making more calls, pushing harder. The stress was showing. Dark circles under his eyes, short temper with colleagues, visible anxiety during client presentations. Lauren noticed too. I saw them arguing in the parking garage, their voices echoing off concrete walls. She was worried about his performance affecting their future plans, whatever those plans were. That's when I decided to accelerate the timeline. I'd kept Lauren's laptop password from when we lived together. She never changed it, too confident in her own security. While she was in a client meeting, I borrowed her laptop for 10 minutes and installed tracking software. Nothing illegal, just a program that logged websites visited and applications used. Within a week, I had a goldmine of information. Personal emails between Lauren and Paul discussing their relationship. Financial planning documents for their life together. And most damaging of all, emails about manipulating me and Tom to cover their tracks. One email made my blood boil. Nick is so predictable. Feed him the story about Tom. Let him feel betrayed but not suspicious. He'll be hurt but won't dig deeper. Tom's too stupid to contradict the story, and by the time anyone figures it out, we'll be long gone. They'd planned this. Every detail, every lie, every manipulation. I wasn't just a casualty of their affair. I was a mark in their con game. But they'd made one crucial error. They'd underestimated their mark. I printed everything, saved copies to multiple drives, and prepared for the next phase. It was time to bring in more players. Mason Webb, our HR director, was a by-the-book company man who took policy violations seriously, especially when those violations involved senior staff members and conflicts of interest. I scheduled a meeting with him, armed with documentation. I want to report a potential ethics violation, I said, sliding a folder across his desk. Mason reviewed the evidence. Photos of Paul and Lauren together, documentation of their relationship affecting workplace dynamics, records of Paul's declining performance correlating with increased personal stress. This is serious, he said. Relationships between supervisors and subordinates require disclosure. If they've been hiding this, there's more, I said. I have reason to believe Paul Bennett has been sharing confidential client information with Lauren to help her close deals. Conflict of interest, possible breach of client confidentiality. It wasn't entirely true, but it wasn't entirely false either. I'd seen Lauren's sudden success with clients who'd previously worked with Paul. The implication was enough to trigger an investigation. I'll need to look into this immediately, Mason said. This could be grounds for termination if proven. I left his office feeling lighter than I had in weeks. The wheels were in motion. That evening, I went back to Mickey's bar. The regulars were in full gossip mode, and I'd learned that buying a few rounds could unlock any secret in town. You hear about that fancy sales guy, said Rick, a construction worker who'd done renovations on our office building? The one with the Mercedes? Paul Bennett? I asked innocently. That's the one. Word is, he's been parking that car in some interesting places. My buddy works security at the Marriott downtown. Says he's seen that Mercedes there every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon. Same time, same spot. I bought Rick another beer and filed away the information. Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, when Lauren had client meetings and Paul's calendar showed off-site appointments. The Marriott, room service receipts would show 2 meals, hotel security would have footage, credit card records would prove Paul was paying for the room. I called Brennan the next morning. I need you to verify some hotel records, I said. That's going to cost extra. Bill me. By Friday, I had everything. Hotel receipts, security footage, credit card statements showing a pattern of deception going back 4 months. Paul and Lauren had been planning this long before my wedding was even scheduled. They'd been living a double life, playing me for a fool while building their escape plan with my own money. Lauren had been using our joint account to buy gifts for Paul, expensive dinners, even lingerie I'd never seen her wear. The betrayal was complete, calculated, and cruel. But now it was my turn. Monday morning, I arrived at the office early and went straight to Paul's corner office. He was already there, tie loosened, stress etched across his face. His latest deal had fallen through over the weekend, another one of my subtle sabotage efforts. Paul, we need to talk, I said, closing his door behind me. He looked up, irritated. I'm busy, Nick. Whatever it is, it's about Lauren. His face went pale. What about Lauren? I sat down across from his desk and smiled. I know about the affair. I know about the hotel rooms. I know about the lies you've been telling and the lies she's been telling. I know everything. Paul's mouth opened and closed like a fish. He was calculating, trying to figure out how much I actually knew versus how much I was bluffing. I don't know what you're talking about. I pulled out my phone and showed him the security footage from the parking garage. His face crumpled. Look, Nick, it's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. You've been screwing my fiancée for 4 months, using me as cover while you plan your little love nest. The question is, what are we going to do about it? Paul straightened in his chair, trying to regain some composure. What do you want? I want you to end it. Today. Tell Lauren it's over, that you're not leaving your wife, whatever story you need to tell. But it ends now. And if I don't, I leaned forward. Then HR gets a very interesting package of evidence about ethics violations, conflict of interest, and misuse of company resources. Your wife gets copies of hotel receipts and security footage. And every client you've been courting gets an anonymous tip about your professional reliability. Paul's face went red. You can't blackmail me. I'm not blackmailing you. I'm offering you a choice. End it quietly, and maybe we can all move on. Keep it going, and I'll destroy you both. He was quiet for a long moment, staring at his hands. When he looked up, there was something desperate in his eyes. You don't understand. Lauren and I, we're in love. Real love, not like whatever you two had. I laughed. Actually laughed. Real love? Paul, she's using you just like she used me. You think you're special? You think you're the first guy with money she's targeted? That's not true. Ask her about Marcus Rodriguez. Paul's face went blank. Who? Her ex-boyfriend from 2 years ago. Married, wealthy, promised to leave his wife for her. Sound familiar? Or what about David Chen, the lawyer she was seeing before she met me? Same story, same promises, same ending. I was making it up, but Paul's expression told me I'd hit close to the truth. Lauren had a pattern, and Paul was just the latest mark. You're lying. Ask her, tonight. Ask her about her relationship history. Ask her why she really broke up with me 3 days before our wedding instead of 3 months ago. Ask her why she needed Tom as a cover story instead of just being honest about you. I stood up and headed for the door. You've got until 5 p.m. to decide. End it or I end both of you. I left him there, staring at his desk, his perfect world cracking around the edges. Next stop was Lauren's desk. She looked up as I approached, her smile automatic and false. Nick, what are you doing here? I thought you were taking time off to deal with everything. I was, but I had an interesting conversation with Paul just now. Her smile flickered. Oh, about what? About how he's ending your affair, today, permanently. Lauren's face went through a series of expressions, shock, fear, anger, calculation. She settled on indignation. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you do. The Marriott, Tuesdays and Thursdays, room 412, his Mercedes, your Audi, 4 months of lies and deception. Should I keep going? She looked around the office, aware that people were watching. Our conversation was drawing attention, and Lauren hated being the center of negative attention. We can't talk about this here, she hissed. Why not? Afraid people will find out what you really are? Nick, please, let's go somewhere private. No, I'm done with private conversations with you. I'm done with lies and manipulation and being played for a fool. My voice was getting louder, and more people were looking our way. Lauren was trapped between her desk and the wall, and I was blocking her escape route. You want to know what's funny? I continued. Paul thinks he's special. He thinks you love him. But we both know the truth, don't we? You don't love anyone but yourself. That's not true. Then prove it. Choose. Right now, in front of everyone. Paul or me. Make your choice and live with the consequences. Lauren's eyes darted around the office. Everyone was watching now, pretending to work while straining to hear every word. This was better than reality TV. I can't do this here. Then you've made your choice. I turned and walked away, leaving her standing there, exposed and humiliated. Behind me, I could hear the whispers starting, the gossip mill grinding to life. By lunch, the whole office knew. Lauren and Paul, caught in an affair, confronted by the betrayed fiancé. The story grew with each telling, becoming more dramatic, more scandalous. I ate my sandwich at my desk and watched the fallout. Paul stayed locked in his office, avoiding eye contact with everyone. Lauren tried to maintain her composure, but I could see the cracks showing. Her hands shook when she reached for her coffee. Her laugh was too bright, too forced. At 3 p.m., Mason Webb called me into his office. I've completed my preliminary investigation into the ethics violations you reported, he said. I'm going to need formal statements from you and any witnesses. Of course. There's something else. Paul Bennett has requested a transfer to our Chicago office, effective immediately. I tried to look surprised. Really? That seems sudden. He cited personal reasons. Given the circumstances, I think it's probably for the best. Paul was running, abandoning Lauren to save his own career. Exactly what I'd expected him to do when the pressure got too high. What about Lauren? Ms. Carver will be receiving a formal reprimand for failure to disclose a relationship that created a conflict of interest. She'll also be transferred to a different department, away from any clients she may have shared with Mr. Bennett. A reprimand and a transfer. Not exactly the destruction I'd been hoping for, but it was a start. At 4:30, Lauren appeared at my desk. "We need to talk," she said. "I'm busy." "Nick, please, 5 minutes." I looked up at her, really looked. Her perfect makeup was smudged, her hair slightly messed. The confident, manipulative woman I'd been living with was gone, replaced by someone desperate and afraid. "Fine, 5 minutes." We walked to the parking garage, the same place where I'd first seen her with Paul. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. "Paul's leaving," she said without preamble. "I heard. He's taking the Chicago transfer. He says it's temporary, but you know it's not." Lauren's composure finally cracked. Tears started flowing, real ones this time, not the calculated crying she'd used to manipulate me before. "I messed up, Nick. I messed up everything." "Yes, you did. Is there any way we can fix this? Go back to how things were?" I stared at her. After everything she'd done, all the lies and betrayal and manipulation, she still thought she could talk her way out of it. "Lauren, there is no going back. There's no fixing this. You made your choice 4 months ago when you started sleeping with Paul. You made it again when you lied to me about Tom. You made it every day since then when you looked me in the eye and pretended to love me. I do love you. No, you don't. You love what I represented, security, stability, someone you could control. But you don't love me." She was crying harder now, mascara running down her cheeks. "What am I supposed to do now? Paul's gone. My job is ruined. Everyone knows what I did." "You're supposed to live with the consequences of your choices, just like I'm living with mine." I turned to walk away, but she grabbed my arm. "Please, Nick, I'll do anything. I'll make it up to you. I'll let go of me. I'm pregnant." The words hit me like a physical blow. I turned back to face her, my mind racing. "What? I'm pregnant. 3 months along. 3 months. Right in the middle of her affair with Paul. The baby could be mine, or it could be his. Another lie, another manipulation, another way to control me." "Congratulations," I said. "I hope Paul's excited about becoming a father. Nick, please. The baby could be yours. Could be, might be, maybe. I'm done with maybes, Lauren. I'm done with all of it." I walked away and left her standing there, crying in the parking garage where her affair had started. It felt like poetic justice. But I wasn't done with my revenge. Not even close. The pregnancy bombshell should have been Lauren's ace in the hole, her final manipulation to reel me back in. But I'd learned to think 3 moves ahead, just like she had. The next morning, I called Brennan. "I need a paternity test," I said. "Prenatal or postnatal?" "Prenatal. And I need it done quietly, without her knowledge if possible." "That's tricky, but not impossible. There are ways to get DNA samples for testing. Hair from a brush, saliva from a drinking glass. It'll cost extra." "Do it." While Brennan worked on that angle, I focused on the office dynamics. Paul's sudden departure had left a power vacuum in the sales department, and I intended to fill it. I started reaching out to his abandoned clients, offering to take over their accounts personally. "I want to ensure continuity of service during this transition," I told Mason Webb. Paul's departure was so sudden, his clients need reassurance. Mason agreed. Within a week, I'd absorbed 3 of Paul's biggest accounts and their substantial commissions. Lauren watched from her new desk in customer service, her face a mask of barely controlled rage. But the real blow came when Brennan called with the paternity results. "The baby isn't yours. DNA doesn't match. Want me to run it against other samples?" "What other samples?" "I might have been able to collect some material from Paul Bennett's office before he left. Hypothetically speaking." I smiled. Brennan was worth every penny I was paying him. "Run the test." 2 days later, he called back. "Congratulations, you're not the father, but neither is Paul Bennett. The baby belonged to someone else entirely. Lauren had been juggling at least 3 men, maybe more. The pregnancy wasn't a tool to manipulate me or Paul. It was evidence of an even deeper deception. I had the proof printed and sealed in an envelope. Then I made some phone calls. First, I called Tom. "We need to talk," I said, "about Lauren and what she told you." We met at Mickey's that evening. Tom looked terrible, guilt and confusion written across his face. "Nick, I'm so sorry about everything. I never meant for it to happen. Tom, stop. Lauren lied to both of us. You're not the father of her baby, and you're not the reason she left me." I showed him the paternity results and the evidence of her affair with Paul. Tom's face went through a series of emotions: relief, anger, betrayal. "She used me," he said finally. "She used both of us. The question is, what are we going to do about it?" Tom's anger was building, the same slow burn I'd felt when I first discovered the truth. "What do you have in mind?" "Public humiliation, complete social destruction. Make sure everyone knows exactly what she is." "Count me in." Next, I called Lauren's parents, Richard and Margaret Hartwell, Old Money, Connecticut, the kind of people who valued reputation above everything else. They'd paid for half the wedding, and they weren't happy about losing that investment. "Mr. Hartwell, I think you should know some things about your daughter's recent behavior," I said. I arranged to meet them at their country club, a place where gossip traveled faster than wildfire and reputations could be destroyed over lunch. I brought evidence: photos, documents, paternity results. I laid it all out like a prosecutor presenting a case. "Lauren has been conducting multiple affairs," I said. "She's pregnant with a child that belongs to neither me nor Paul Bennett. She's been lying to everyone, manipulating situations for her own benefit, and using family connections to cover her tracks." Margaret Hartwell's face went white. This is unacceptable. "I thought you should know before word gets out publicly," which it will eventually. Richard Hartwell was already calculating damage control. "What do you want from us?" "Nothing. I just thought you deserved the truth, but I knew what would happen. The Hartwells would cut Lauren off financially, socially, completely. They couldn't afford to have their family name associated with scandal. The final piece of my plan involved Melissa, Lauren's gossipy best friend who'd already revealed too much at Mickey's. I knew she was the weak link, the one who couldn't keep secrets when she was drinking. I arranged to accidentally run into her at the bar on Friday night. She was already 3 drinks deep when I arrived. "Nick, how are you holding up? This whole thing with Lauren must be so hard." "I'm managing. Though I have to admit, some of the things I've learned recently have been surprising." "Like what?" I bought her another drink and let the alcohol do the work. "Well, the paternity test results for one thing." Melissa's eyes widened. "Paternity test? You didn't know? Lauren's baby isn't mine or Paul's. Turns out she was seeing someone else entirely." "Who?" I shrugged. "She won't say. But the DNA doesn't lie." Melissa was drunk enough to be indiscreet, but sober enough to understand the implications. This was the kind of gossip that could destroy someone completely. "Oh my God, Lauren doesn't know you know, does she?" "Not yet, but she will soon enough." I left Melissa at the bar, knowing she'd be on the phone within an hour, spreading the news to everyone in her contact list. By Monday morning, the entire office would know that Lauren's baby belonged to a mystery man, that she'd been lying to everyone about everything. The trap was set. All I had to do was to wait for Lauren to walk into it. Saturday morning, my phone rang. "Lauren, we need to talk, now. I'm busy. Nick, please. Melissa called me last night. She said you told her about the paternity test." "Did I? I don't recall. You know the baby isn't yours." "I know a lot of things, Lauren. The question is, what are you going to do about it?" There was silence on the other end of the line. Then quietly, "What do you want?" "I want the truth. All of it. Who's the father? How long has this been going on? How many other lies have you told?" I can't do this over the phone." "Then don't. Live with the consequences." I hung up and turned off my phone. Let her sweat for a while, wondering how much I knew, how much damage I could do. By Sunday evening, I had my answer. Lauren showed up at my apartment, looking like she hadn't slept in days. "The father is Marcus Rodriguez," she said without preamble, "a client from 6 months ago. It was supposed to be a one-time thing, but Marcus Rodriguez, a married real estate developer with a reputation for aggressive business practices and expensive tastes. Exactly Lauren's type. Does he know? No, and I'm not telling him. Why not? Because he's married, wealthy, and has no interest in complications. The baby would ruin everything for him. So you thought you'd pin it on me instead. Lauren's face crumpled. I was scared. I didn't know what else to do. You could have told the truth. The truth would have destroyed everything. The truth is destroying everything, just slower than it would have otherwise. I looked at her standing in my doorway, this woman I'd thought I loved, thought I knew. She was still beautiful, still polished, but now I could see through the facade to the desperate, manipulative person underneath. You're going to tell Marcus, I said. You're going to tell him he's the father, and you're going to deal with whatever consequences come from that. I can't. Then I will. Her face went pale. You wouldn't. Try me. Lauren stared at me for a long moment, seeing something in my expression that told her I wasn't bluffing. You've changed, she said finally. No, I've just stopped pretending to be someone I'm not. You should try it sometime. She left without another word. But I knew she'd be back. Desperate people always came back, looking for one more angle, one more manipulation, one more way to avoid facing the truth. I was ready for her. Monday morning brought the reckoning I'd been orchestrating for weeks. Lauren arrived at the office to find her world completely collapsed. The gossip mill had worked overtime all weekend, and everyone knew about the pregnancy, the paternity test, the multiple affairs. Whispers followed her through the hallways. Conversations stopped when she approached. The woman who'd once commanded respect and attention was now a pariah. I watched from my desk as she tried to maintain her composure, but the cracks were showing. Her hands shook as she turned on her computer. Her voice was unsteady when she answered the phone. At 10 a.m., Mason Webb called her into his office. She emerged 20 minutes later, carrying a box of personal items. Terminated for cause. The ethics investigation had concluded, and the evidence was overwhelming. She walked past my desk without looking at me, but I could see the tears she was trying to hold back. Rough morning? Janine asked, not bothering to hide her satisfaction. Justice has a way of working itself out, I replied. But Lauren's professional destruction was just the beginning. By lunch, her parents had arrived at the office building. I watched from the window as they confronted her in the parking lot. Richard Hartwell was red-faced, gesticulating angrily. Margaret stood rigid with disapproval. The conversation lasted 15 minutes. When it was over, Lauren was alone, and the Hartwells were driving away in their Mercedes. She'd been cut off, disowned, left to face her problems without the family safety net she'd always relied on. I felt a moment of something that might have been pity. Then I remembered the wedding invitations on my coffee table, the money I'd spent, the months of lies and manipulation. The pity passed. That evening I was at Mickey's celebrating my promotion. I'd officially been given Paul's old position and client list when Lauren walked in. She looked terrible. Her hair was unwashed, her clothes wrinkled, her makeup smeared. The polished facade had completely crumbled. She spotted me at the bar and walked over, ignoring the stares and whispers from the other patrons. Are you satisfied now? She asked. Getting there. You've destroyed everything. My job, my family, my reputation. Was it worth it? I turned to face her fully. You destroyed everything, Lauren. I just made sure people knew about it. I loved you. No, you didn't. You loved what I could give you. Security, stability, cover for your affairs. But you never loved me. She was crying now, but I felt nothing. No sympathy, no regret, no desire to comfort her. What am I supposed to do now? I have nothing left. Figure it out. That's what adults do when they face consequences for their actions. The baby is Marcus Rodriguez's problem. I called him this morning. Told him everything. He's expecting your call. Lauren's face went white. You didn't. I did. Turns out he's not as happy about unplanned fatherhood as you might have hoped. She stared at me like she was seeing a stranger. You're not the man I thought you were. No, I'm not. I'm better. Lauren left the bar without another word. I finished my drink and went home, feeling lighter than I had in months. But I wasn't done yet. There was one final move to make. Tuesday morning, I drove to the offices of Rodriguez Development. Marcus was a big man, intimidating, with the kind of presence that filled a room. But when I walked into his office, he looked smaller somehow, worried. You're the ex-fiancée, he said without preamble. Nick Carver. Thanks for seeing me. What do you want? Just to make sure we understand each other. Lauren Hartwell is your problem now, not mine. Marcus nodded grimly. She called last night, wants money for a pregnancy procedure. Are you going to give it to her? Heck no. I'm not paying for her mistakes. What if she goes public, tells your wife? Marcus's smile was cold. Let her try. I've got lawyers, private investigators, resources she can't imagine. If she wants to play hardball, I'll show her what hardball really looks like. I left his office knowing Lauren had finally met her match, someone with more money, more power, and fewer scruples than she had. The final confrontation came Wednesday evening. Lauren appeared at my apartment one last time, looking desperate and defeated. Marcus won't help me, she said. I know. My parents won't take my calls. I know. I have nowhere to go, no money, no job. I'm 3 months pregnant and completely alone. I know. She stared at me, waiting for some sign of the man she'd thought she could manipulate and control. Please, Nick, I'm begging you, help me. I looked at her for a long moment. This woman who'd tried to destroy me, who'd lied and cheated and manipulated everyone around her. No, I said simply. What? No, I won't help you. I won't save you. I won't be your backup plan or your safety net or your way out of the mess you created. But I have nothing. Then you have exactly what you deserve. Lauren's face went through a series of emotions: shock, anger, desperation, and finally acceptance. She was truly alone for the first time in her life, without anyone to manipulate or control or fall back on. You're going to regret this, she said. No, I'm not. But you're going to regret every choice that led you here. She left my apartment and my life forever. I watched from my window as she got into her car. The silver Audi would probably be repossessed within a month, and drove away. 6 months later, I heard through the office grapevine that Lauren had moved back to her hometown in Ohio, working as a waitress and raising her baby alone. Marcus Rodriguez had made sure she couldn't cause him any trouble, using his resources to keep her quiet and far away. Paul Bennett had lasted 3 months in Chicago before being quietly let go from the company. Turns out, his performance problems had followed him, and without Lauren to help maintain his facade, his weaknesses became obvious. Tom and I had rebuilt our relationship, bonded by our shared experience of being manipulated by the same woman. He'd learned to be more careful about trusting people, and I'd learned that sometimes the quiet brother has depths you don't expect. As for me, I was thriving. Paul's old job came with a substantial salary increase, a corner office, and the respect of colleagues who'd watched me handle a devastating personal betrayal with intelligence and grace. I'd turned my worst moment into my greatest triumph. The wedding invitations were still in my closet, a reminder of how close I'd come to making the biggest mistake of my life. Sometimes I looked at them and felt grateful to Lauren for showing me who she really was before it was too late. I'd learned that revenge, when served intelligently and patiently, was indeed a dish best served cold. I'd destroyed my enemies completely, legally, and permanently. They would never recover from what I'd done to them, and I'd done it all without breaking a single law or compromising my own integrity. Lauren had taught me to think like a chess player, always 3 moves ahead. She just hadn't realized I was a faster learner than she was a teacher. In the end, the underdog had bitten back, and the bite was fatal.